Okay, we're in the middle of Parakid Aleph. I say that every single week for the last 2 months or so, as this is the longest parak. And we're going to be discussing a few different inyanim, a few topics tonight, within the levels of nikiyos, of perfection and cleanliness, to make sure that a person is aware and cognizant and is careful of every small detail and every prat of the halacha related to an idea. So we're going to be discussing a few points. So we're up to sinna and nikima, which are hatred and revenge. He says, Gama sinna v'nikima kasha ma'od, v'shayimale timana leiv hutal asher livnei adam. So it's very hard to totally remove oneself from any hatred or wanting to have revenge, take revenge upon someone. Right? It's a very much a normal thing for a person to get angry. Very normal for a person to want to get back at the person who wronged them. And he says not just the average person, but like someone who doesn't have, let's say, is not careful in their heart, someone who is less sensitive or kind, for that person it's very difficult to control their hatred and vengeance. That he says, but because a person is naturally very sensitive and a person doesn't want to be embarrassed or ashamed, and if someone does something to you, you want to respond. And he says that revenge is sweeter than honey. Sometimes nothing makes a person feel better than getting back at that person who wronged them, seeing that person suffer. It's a terrible thing. But unfortunately, that is sometimes the reality. There's a story, I'm not going to go into the detailed story, it's a somewhat long story. There's a story with Rav Kook, where someone who did such terrible things to Rav Kook when he was obviously the Rav in Eretz Yisrael, somebody did terrible things to him. Rav Kook did him a tremendous chesed. And not going into the details, but the reason why it's like a Gedolim story is because the natural tendency is to not help that person out when the person comes to ask for a favor, right? If someone wrongs you and then asks you for a favor, the natural reaction is to take revenge, is to not give it and to not help the person and be happy when the person is down. That's the only comfort that the person is going to get, that a person wrongs me and now that person is in trouble. Great, that's natural feeling. That it's required of a person, of course, to try to go against this natural tendency, to try to think, I shouldn't be happy that the person is suffering. Shouldn't be happy. It's true they were wrong to me, but why do they deserve this? And we have to go against the natural grain to try to perfect this midah. To not hate someone who just because they made us mad. And to not take revenge when we have the opportunity. Right? Imagine someone does something wrong to you and you have the exact same opportunity comes for you to do the same thing to them. Right? It's 99% of people will go and do that thing back to them. Yeah, you see now you know what it feels like. Right? He says you have to go against your grain and not do that, even when you have the opportunity. And to not bear a grudge. Ella, as hakol yishkach yasim libo ki'ilu lo haya chazak v'ametzu. The person is extremely brave and courageous and strong in himself character, in his willpower, if he's able to remove from himself that desire to take revenge. He's able to just be mavir midosav. The Gemara says about this time, later Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Kol Hamavir Al Midosav Mavir Lo Kol Pshav. Anyone who doesn't react negatively and doesn't take revenge for a person who wronged them, or a person wrongs you, and you don't get upset, you don't respond back in anger, and you go, okay, you take it, even if it's totally unjustified. I remember I was once, I may have told the story here, I'm not sure if I did, but I remember I was once online on a Saturday night at Golan, a restaurant in, it's also a place in Israel, named for a place in Israel. So I was online on Saturday night when it was extremely crowded, and the way it works is there is no formal line. It's kind of people crowding in front of the counter, and you just kind of like almost like scream out your order. Not exactly like that, but pretty much like that. It's like, yeah, I'll take a hot dog laffa, I'll take a shawarma pita, whatever it may be. Okay. I ordered, I was just waiting and waiting. And I knew, I've been there hundreds of times, pretty much, and I knew how long it was supposed to take roughly for the food I ordered. It's very quick, should take 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes. And I was waiting there 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I said to the person, finally, I was able to get his attention for the million people around me calling out orders and him being very flustered. I said, excuse me, is my food ready? Or is like, I think you might have the wrong one. You may have not taken, did you take my order, kind of? I don't remember which one I said, but I just want to know, like, is this happening here? Are you getting my order? And he like screamed at me. It was like, I'm busy. Like, what do you, like, we're on it or something. Like, not even processing what I was asking. Fast forward about 10 minutes, and he never got my order. When I was like, hello again. And he never actually took it down. It was never really passed back to the cook. So I didn't, meaning my natural tendency is to be mad at him and say, like, scream back, but whatever, it's not a big deal. Meaning, it's not a gadol story. I usually try not to say positive stories about myself, but either way, that's an example in theory of like Mavil Midos that came to mind of like, yeah, I'm mad at this guy for yelling at me for no reason. He's only doing, I know he's doing it out of stress, but not necessarily justified. But let it go, basically, to let something go. V'hu kal rak l'malachei hasharei she'im b'neim hamidos halalu. Ramchal continues and says, you know, this is easy for the angels, because an angel has no jealousy, no hatred, doesn't want to take revenge towards someone else, towards another angel. What was Shosnei Bate Chomer Asher Be'afar Yisodam? He's not like man. It's not like human beings. Meaning, it's something. I think he's saying like there's something. Yeah, the angels could do it, but like for us, this is something difficult. But of course, this is something that's hard for us. Amnam Xeras Melachi, but this is a decree of the king. This is a mitzvah from Hashem to not take revenge, to not get angry, to not respond that way. And it's explicit. Einam tzrichim perush, they don't need explanation. Lo sisnas achicha b'lvavecha. He says, I don't need to expound upon this. It says, don't hate your brother in your heart. To not have hatred towards someone else is explicit in the Torah. It all says, lo tikam, lo titaros b'nei amecha. To not take revenge, right? To not bear a grudge against your neighbor. It's explicit in the Torah. The inyan hanikima v'anitira Yadua. Now he explains the difference between not taking revenge and bearing a grudge, as they're defined. Behind nikima limana mehetiv lemisha lo rata lehetiv lo oshehera lo kvar. Nikima, taking revenge, is I go and I ask Reuven to borrow his, let's say, borrow his headphones. I need headphones. Lost my headphones. Could I borrow your headphones? He says, no, I'm not giving you my headphones. Then I go out. I end up buying headphones. A few weeks later, let's say he comes over to me. Reuben says, you know, I lost my headphones. I left them on the bus. Could I borrow your headphones? I assume you have by now. I say, yeah, I did get by now, and I'm not going to lend you because you didn't lend me. That's nikima. When itira lahazker be'esha hu meitiv lemisha hira lo eza zikaron min harash asalo. And nitira, bearing a grudge, is he comes up to me, Reuven comes up to me and says, by the way, can I have headphones from you now? And I say, oh, now you need headphones? I'm going to give you headphones because I'm not a jerk like you. So it's giving, still, you're giving it, you're giving what they want, but you're stuching them, right? You're telling them that you're still not so happy with how they behave to you, and you're a much better person than them. That's natira. You're still frustrated with what they did. Ulefi shayitzer holich martiach halev, that our hearts are sometimes like the Yetzer Hara makes it where our hearts are like kind of like boiling, like meaning we get worked up. Is the way of saying it. Martiach halev u'mevakesh tamid la'aniach lefachos eza roshem eza zikaron min hadavar, and always seek to preserve at least some trace of anything that occurred. Meaning, you get mad at a situation that occurs. Let's say I was telling my class today, I was telling them that if someone doesn't hold the door open for me, I might not be mad at all in the moment. If I'm like frustrated, like, oh, I didn't hold the door open, within 5 seconds, I'll be forgiving. It's not a big deal. Okay. But if someone does something bigger, right? So a lot of times it does weigh on us. And a few days later, it could still frustrate us. Maybe even a week later, a few weeks later, right? The bigger it is, maybe the longer we hold on to it for. He says the Yetzer Hara wants to get us to always hold on to those things, to always remember what they did, to always bear that grudge. Yomar derech mashal adam. He says, I'm going to give a mashal. Im tirte litin la'ish hazeh asher lo ratzah hu latet lachak shenitzrachta. That if you insist on giving a person when he refused to give you when you needed it, the pacha lo titneu b'sever panim yachos. Meaning, let's say it's not where you're gonna. If he asks you for something, so I asked Reuben for something, he says no. Reuben asked me for something, so the lowest level is I'm not going to give it to him. He says, but let's say you're not like that. You're going to give it to him, right? So he says, but you're not going to smile, right? You're going to try. You'd be like, okay, here you go. You're not like happy to do it. Oh, in charutze laharalo, the pacha lo tetev lo tova gadol lo tisayehu siyua gadol. But you don't want to cause if you don't want to cause a person so much harm, whatever it may be, so minimally, you're not going to help him out so much. You might help him. You don't need to do a big job for him. Or maybe, you really are going to help the person out a lot. But you're not going to do it in front of him. What he explains here, that when you do it in front of him, it's giving him the impression that you weren't offended by it. Like, you're going to be in his presence, you're going to hang out with the person. But so if you're willing, even if you are willing to help the person out, the Yetzer Hara is going to make it so that you're still holding a grudge where you don't want to see the guy. I don't need to see you. I'm happy to do it for you, but I don't need to see you. Oh, lo tashuv l'tchaber immobile yotzlo l'reya. Or, the Yetzer Hara might say, yeah, help the guy out, do what you want. You're not going to become friends with this guy again. Things aren't going to be worked out between you two. If it appears, right? So it appears that you guys hate each other, okay? You don't have to be good friends anymore. And if you insist on even associating yourself with this person, but you know what? The Yetzer Hara is going to make it so that you're not going to be as friendly as you were at first. It's not like the relationship what it used to be. The Yetzer Hara constantly works to try to get us to bear a grudge and take revenge on whatever level we can. So it doesn't have to be where you're not going to lend the person, but every single stage where you're not happy to do it. Or you might be happy, but you're not going to get back to the level. You're not going to do it in front of him. You don't need to associate with him. Or you're going to associate with him. You don't have to be such good friends. Yetzer Hara wants to try the best for that kind of stuff to happen. Al Kain, Ba HaTorah v'chalula klal she'akol nechlal ba. The Torah comes and gives like the banner statement for what is encompassed for how we are supposed to live and react and behave ourselves in these areas, which is v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. You should love your neighbor like yourself. Kamocha b'lisham hefresh, just like yourself, without any difference. Kamocha b'li chilukim, without no distinction. B'li tachbulot umizimos, kamocha mamish, with no ruses, no gimmicks, no hatred whatsoever. But mamish, like you care about the person, you're willing to do for them what you want done for yourself. So that's when it comes. That is ad kan, hatred and bearing a grudge, taking revenge. Now going on to the next topic that we're going to discuss is taking a shvua, taking an oath. So whole Masecha Shvuos. It's also Masechas Nedarim, right? Difference between a neder and a shvua is one is on you saying, I am not going to benefit from, let's say, that item X. And then the next one is on the item, is I will not eat this apple. One is going on you, I won't benefit from something, and the other is this item will not gain, I will not benefit from that item or that item. That's a gabra. Either way, when it comes to taking oaths, so maybe you learned when you were younger it's not good to say I swear, to swear. Certainly one of the Sarasa Dibros, right, saying God's name in vain, to use God's name for a shvua, it's not a great thing. And even just saying a stam shvua, or we'll see on much lower levels, like even just say I swear, right? It's much more, it has become almost second nature for someone to say like, oh my God, I swear it's true. I saw it with my own eyes, right? Something like that. Or I swear to God that whatever, the teacher is not here today. Is the teacher absent? Yeah, right, Schlusselberg is absent. Oh my God, really? Like, I don't believe you. I swear to God he's absent, right? It's a normal thing that people say. So it's not a good thing to say, even if what you're swearing is true. Rashi quotes in the Torah that you're not supposed to say, I swear that this rock is a rock. I swear that this is a rock. It's obvious it's a rock. For something that's so obvious and clear, you're not supposed to swear about. That's also not something where we use God's name. You're not supposed to make a shvua. So he says, Ulam hashvuos, Ava pisha min hastam, kol she'ena min ahedyotos, nishmar mehotzi shem shamayim yipidlu atala, kol she'kem b'shvua. That the average person is very careful to not say God's name in vain, and to not say a shvua that's just shvua atala, to not just swear for no reason. But there are many other levels and branches, offshoots from this that aren't as severe as that. But someone wants to be naki, as we've discussed. Someone wants to be careful in all areas of this halacha, of the mitzvah. So they have to go a level above that. And so he says, "V'hu masha amras." It says in Gemara Shvuos, Lam Vav Alf, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Lav shvua v'hein shvua. Saying no or yes could be a shvua. I'll say another thing, then we'll discuss. Amar Rava says, V'hu de Amar lav trei zimne. V'hu de Amar hein trei zimne. Or someone says no, or yes. You're affirming what you're saying. You're showing real justification and assertiveness when you say no, when you say it twice. And he says it's not a shvua mamish. It's a small level of a shvua. Now, the Farshim on that, it says here in the footnotes that the Rush and the Ran point out by saying no to something or yes, it's not a shvua unless you have in mind for it to be a shvua. But Tosfos says that it creates a stronger obligation to make sure you keep that commitment. So it's not, if you don't say yes, then it's not where you're not in trouble basically if you don't do it necessarily as much. But if you if you repeat the words yes or no, then it makes it a little bit more intense. V'chein amru, it says above Metzia Mem Teramrach, V'hin Tzedek. Here we are. V'hin Tzedek Shehelav Shalacha Tzedek V'hin Shalacha Tzedek. That in the Torah, it was speaking about having proper weights and measures in your store, and says that an honest ephah and a hin is sorry. Here you're saying an honest hin you shall have. That's what the Torah says. You should be honest in your hin. But the Torah already discussed being honest when it comes to the measurement of an ephah. And a hin is included in an ephah. So why does it say it here? It's redundant, and it's to teach the following, that shehelav shalachat tzedek vehin shalachat tzedek. That to teach you that your no, the lav, if you say no, shalachat, that you say tzedek, you should be honest when you say no. Vehin, and when you say yes to something, shalachat tzedek, you should be honest with that. V'hinei, dvar hasheker gamu choli ra nispashet ma'od b'vnei adam. That lying, when it comes to being honest, lying is something that is so widespread. And there's so many levels when it comes to people's dishonesty. There are people whose profession is to lie. Part and parcel of what they have to do is to be dishonest. Right? The classic examples, two classic examples. I don't mean to offend anyone if you are one of these professions. The classic examples are a lawyer, let's say a used car salesman, because I'm sure most people listening are not used car salesmen. I'll use that one, right? So someone comes in to buy a car and you're lying about the mileage, or you're lying, which is very hard to lie about, but because let's say you get a tool, change the whatever. You're lying about the shape that the engine is in, or how old the tires are. There's so many avenues for you to lie about, and it's much more of a, also like in general, mechanics is known for like a profession where people are going to lie about. So you have no idea. They can say whatever they want. You can say whatever term, and that needs to be fixed. Be $300, and you don't really have much of a say. So it says there's certain professions where a person is going to be lying the whole time. And they go and come up with all these stories and come up with all these lies to speak between people, or sometimes it's in order to make themselves sound smarter. Right? There were times, let's say, meaning this, I would not do this, but someone asked me a halacha question. So of course I want to know the answer, but I'm not going to lie and tell them the answer just so I don't seem smart. If I say, oh, I'm not sure, let me get back to you. I don't want to look dumb. Oh, so let me just say it's mutter or it's aser. Chas v'shalom, I shouldn't do that. But it's kind of like that, where you show that you're smarter, and so sometimes lying actually is a way to show someone that you're smarter. The Alei Nemar, it says in Mishlei Yud Beis Pasuk Kaf Bet, Toavas Hashem Sifsei Shaker. That's an abomination to Hashem for when a person lies. The Omer, it says Yeshayahu Nintek Imel Sifso Sechem Dibur Sheker, when your lips speak falsly. L'shonchem Avla Tegeh, and your tongue utters wickedness. That's a terrible thing. And the Chachamim declared in Sota Mem Beis Aleph, Arba Kitos Einan Mekablos Pnei Shechina Ve'achas Mehem Kas Shakranim. There are 4 groups that are unable to greet and host the Shechina and come in presence of the Shechina of Hashem, and one of them is people who lie. The Shechina can't rest among someone who's a liar. Yesh Acherim Krovim Lahem B'Madrega. We'll do a little bit more tonight. Probably we'll finish this paragraph. Yesh Acherim Krovim Lahem Madrega. There's the next level, right? So it's not where you're outright lying and totally dishonest in your job. The next level is Aval Pishein on Kamo Mamish, even though they're not exactly like that first group. Heim Hamechazvim B'Sipurim B'Dibram. But they lie when they tell stories, or when they're conversing and schmoozing with people, they'll lie. Even though it's not their profession to make up these lies and stories, but when they're telling a story, they'll exaggerate and they'll make something up and weave it within their maybe true story to add some spice to it, right? Whatever comes to their mind, will make up. And they do this so often that making stuff up that it becomes second nature. Remember, there are plenty of times, and sometimes little kids are like this, but there are plenty of times I remember being a counselor in camp, where there are times you'll have a kid in your bunk who lies a lot, and you just can't even believe what the person's saying, and you don't even know if the person's telling the truth sometimes or not. So many times they were caught in their lie. Says these liars, you can't even prove if what they're saying is true, because you can't even trust if what they're saying is true, even if it is, because you just don't know. It says Sanhedrin Peited on days. Kafu ansho shel badai. This is the punishment of a liar. Shafilu omer emes ain't shomin lo. Even if they say the truth, people aren't going to listen because you're a liar in general. Because there's nothing that they could say that where they're going to speak where falsehood won't leave their mouth. Think about Lavan Harasha, right? So Lavan in the Torah, he was constantly, it's a little different because he was trying to like trick Yaakov. He was also lying at times, right? Oh, here, we don't give the younger daughter before the older daughter, right? There's certain things where it's not just tricking, but you can't really believe what a person's going to say. That's why I'm bringing up Lavan, when a lot of things they bring up are weaved into lies. This is what the Navi in Yirmiyahu Parak Tab Pasuk Dad says, Limdu Lishonam Daber Sheker Ha'avei Nilu. That they train their tongue to speak falsehood as if striving to be crooked, as if their goal is to become wicked. And we have more long stuff, more stuff about this that as Hashem we're going to continue next week. Let me